window held the dying rain, lighted still remembered pain, and every shadow in this room knew exactly what I'd been through. I stayed awake for days and nights, hiding underneath dim lights, too tired to keep running far from all the broken parts we are. I wore exhaustion like a coat, heavy stitches at my throat. Every promise felt too thin to hold the ache beneath my skin. I stopped answering the phone, learned how silence could feel cold, watched the ceiling slowly turn while the world outside still burned. And somewhere deep beneath the fear, a quieter voice appeared, soft as dust inside the dawn, like a hand I could lean on, not demanding I survive, only asking me to try. And the silence finally said my name, not with judgment, not with shame, like the morning touching shattered glass, whispering softly, this too shall pass. And for the first time in so long, I heard a heart beneath the wrong, a trembling light inside the gray, calling me back into the day. Oh, the silence finally said my name. The mirror didn't look away when I stood there yesterday. No pretending left to hide, no more war to keep inside. Even breathing felt brand new, fragile, shaking, but still true, like the air had slowly learned I was worthy to return. And all the tears I could not speak fell gently at my feet. Through the cracks the sunlight came, not to erase me but remain. And every scar I tried to hide opened like a door inside. And the silence finally said my name, not like thunder, not like blame, but like rivers finding where they start, flowing softly through my stillness, I remained alive enough to hear my name. There's a photograph still underneath my bed, a girl with brighter eyes than mine instead. She used to dance without apologizing first, before love taught her how to disappear. I remember changing little things, the way I laughed, the songs I'd sing, quietly becoming someone safe, for hands afraid of who I was. I folded dreams like paper cranes, set them drifting in the rain, traded colors from my soul for the comfort of not feeling alone. And every time you pulled away, I gave another piece away. Now the room feels strangely wide without your shadow next to mine, and in the silence I can see what loving you did to me. I left pieces of me yesterday, and every word I didn't say, and every tear I learned to hide, just to keep you by my side. I let all seasons fade to gray, bent my truth until it changed. Now I'm gathering what still remains from all the versions love erased. I left pieces of me in yesterday. There was a girl who loved the rain, who painted stars across her page, who believed her heart was enough without needing to be less for someone. But slowly I became the space between your silence and your praise, living carefully step by step, afraid to be too much again. And somewhere underneath the ache, she still whispers through the break, like a candle barely lit, still surviving after it burned through every lonely night, trying not to lose its light. I left pieces of me yesterday, and all the times I chose to stay, when my spirit begged to run, but I can't surrender love. I watched my reflection slowly blur, trying so hard to make us work. Now I'm holding fragile remains of every self I gave away. I left pieces of me in yesterday. Maybe love was never meant to cost me my own innocence. Maybe hearts are not designed to disappear just to survive. And maybe all the broken parts still remember who they are, waiting patiently for me to come back and finally see I was worthy all along. And now memories of me in yesterday, but I'm bringing them home again. There's a girl inside my soul, still waiting to be home. I used to cover every mirror in the room, like if I couldn't see myself, the hurting might disappear too. But shadows always found a way to speak louder in the dark. I memorized my every flaw, like scripture written on the wall. Every trembling insecurity became a truth I couldn't leave. I wore apologies like lace, carefully stitched across my face, smiling softly through the ache, afraid of taking up too much space. And every night I'd look away before my own eyes could stay. But healing entered quietly, not like lightning, not like peace, more like breathing after years of holding everything beneath tears. And somewhere between the cracks and scars, the mirror learned to forgive my heart. It stopped reflecting only pain and showed me I survived the rain. Every trembling, shattered part, every bruise I hid in dark, slowly softened in the light until I could meet my own eyes. The mirror learned to forgive. There's a softness growing now, where shame once used to pull me down. A gentler voice inside my head, replacing all the words I dread. And though the wounds still leave their trace, I no longer call them disgrace. They're proof I carried heavy nights and somehow still protected light. I'm learning scars don't make me less, they only prove I did my best. And maybe grace begins this way, when we stop turning our face away. And the girl inside the glass no longer fears what's looking back. And somewhere between the loss and fear, the mirror finally saw me clear. Not perfect, not untouched, just human enough to still deserve love. And every lonely hidden ache no longer feels too hard to name. There's tenderness where blame once lived, now the mirror softly forgives. The mirror learned to forgive. Maybe beauty was never flawless skin, maybe healing starts within. Maybe hearts become more bright after surviving endless nights. And maybe all this time I needed was not another soul to save me, but my own reflection saying gently, you can stay. And now when I stand beneath finally, so did I. The girl inside the glass no longer looks away. The night was heavier than usual, like every shadow knew my name. I sat beside the quiet window, too tired to fight the rain. And somewhere underneath the silence, a small warmth began to move, like hope had entered softly, without asking for permission to. How to breathe without carrying grief. Forgotten what it felt like to loosen fear from around my ribs. The world outside kept turning slow while I stayed hidden in my room, collecting fragments of myself like wilted flowers in the gloom. But there was something underneath, still refusing to leave me. Not loud enough to shake the earth, not bright enough to instantly hurt, just gentle as the break of dawn, telling me to hold on. Soft hands pulling me from the dark, piece by piece, heart by heart, not with force, not with blame, but with tenderness calling my name. And every step back toward the light felt fragile, but somehow right, like the soul inside my chest was finally learning how to rest. Oh, soft hands pulling me from the dark. I started opening the curtains just enough to let day in, watched golden light touch the floorboards like forgiveness entering skin. And though the sadness still remained, it no longer ruled the room. The air began to feel alive instead of waiting for more doom. I found courage in tiny things like hearing my own heartbeat sing. And maybe strength is quiet too. Maybe healing comes in whispers, not in proof. Maybe surviving all this pain is already a kind of grace. Soft hands pulling me from the dark, guiding gently through the scars, through every memory that stayed, through every part of me afraid. And slowly I could finally see the one still rescuing me was me. Not perfect, not untouched, just brave enough to rise again with love. Oh, soft hands pulling me from the dark. I thought salvation had to thunder, thought healing had to shine, but maybe hope is something smaller, flickered, choosing not to die. Maybe all the broken nights were teaching me to trust the light, even if it entered slow. like winter finally letting go. Now those soft hands still guide my heart whenever shadows start to whisper I am not enough, or tell me I should still give up. And though the road is long ahead, there's warmth returning to my chest, a quiet fire in the spark, soft hands pulling me from the dark. Oh, soft hands pulling me from the dark and leading me back to who I really are. The night no longer feels so endless. There's light beneath the door. I used to think the hurting meant that I was walking wrong, like every shattered chapter proved I never truly belonged. So I kept tracing old regrets like maps across my skin, trying to understand the storms I somehow lived within. There were nights I packed my heart into half-empty suitcases, left pieces of myself behind in unfamiliar places. I called loneliness becoming strong, called breaking growing up. Smiled through rooms that dimmed my soul just to feel remotely loved. And every goodbye carved a space no one else could ever replace. But maybe pain was not the end. Maybe all the roads would bend toward a truth I could not see, waiting patiently for me. Every broken door still led me home. Through every place I felt alone, every wound and every scar still carried me back to my heart. Even the nights I thought would break me slowly became what remade me, and all the tears I tried to hide were rivers pulling me inside. Oh, every broken door still led me home. I remember chasing love like it could finally complete me, giving away my quiet light to hands too afraid to keep me. But now I see the girl I was only searching for her name inside the ruins of old hopes, inside the ashes of the flame. And though those memories still ache, I no longer call them mistakes, because every shadow I survived taught my trembling soul to fight, not with anger, not with pride, but with softness still alive. was always hidden inside the parts I couldn't hold until now. Now every broken door feels different, not like endings but beginnings. Every road I once regretted brought me closer to acceptance. And though the past still softly calls, I no longer fear the walls, because the girl I searched for most was waiting where the hurting closed. Oh, every broken door still led me home, back into my own arms again. And for the first time, home feels like me. There's a girl beneath a heavy heart, still sitting quietly in the dark, listening to the midnight walls, pretending she does not feel small. She smiles when people ask if she's okay, learned how to make the hurting look graceful that way. Keeps conversations light enough to float, while loneliness is wrapped around her throat. She fills the silence with television sounds, so the emptiness won't echo through the house. Leaves half-drunk coffee cooling by the bed, while tired thoughts keep circling in her head. And no one notices the ache behind the calm she always makes, because she became so good at hiding storms inside soft eyes and gentle words. But even quiet souls can break from carrying too much weight. There's a girl beneath the heavy heart, holding together falling parts, trying to stay warm through the cold, trying to feel less alone. And every night she softly fades into memory she never says, still hoping someone somewhere might see the tears behind her light. Oh, the girl beneath the heavy heart. She remembers when her laugh was loud, before sadness made her careful now, before every room became a place where she rehearsed a safer face. Sometimes she stands beside the sink, too exhausted even to think, watching city lights outside the glass, wondering how long this feeling lasts. And though she says she's doing fine, there are oceans underneath the lies, still somewhere underneath the ache. A tiny spark refuses to break, like a whisper buried deep inside, saying she deserves to survive. wasn't she was meant to be. Not broken, not too far gone. Just someone who carried sadness too long. Now the girl beneath the heavy heart is slowly stepping from the dark, breathing deeper than before, unlocking long forgotten doors. And though the sadness still remains, it no longer speaks her name, because somewhere underneath the scars a softer light is waking up her heart. Oh, the girl beneath the heavy heart is finally learning she does not have to carry it alone. There's still a light inside her chest, even now, even here. The city lights were flickering like tired thoughts inside my head. Every voice around me speaking, but none saying what I needed yet. I kept running through the noise, trying not to disappear, until the quiet underneath it all finally became clear. I filled my days with empty motion, conversations without meaning, stayed awake with glowing screens just to avoid what I was feeling. I let the world become so loud that I forgot my inner sound. Every fear became a crowd, pulling my spirit downward. But somewhere beneath the chaos and ache, a softer rhythm still remained, like distant music through the rain, calling me by my real name, not demanding I be strong, only asking me to listen long enough. And I heard my soul beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the voices, like a river underneath the storm, still flowing quietly and warm. And for the first time I could feel something inside me becoming real, not broken, not destroyed, just buried underneath the noise. Oh, I heard my soul beneath the noise. I remember dreams I left behind, pieces of a softer life, the girl who used to sing alone without needing to be known. I remembered how the sunlight felt before survival became myself, before exhaustion dimmed my fire, before I learned to live so tired. And every tear I could not explain started falling like healing rain. Maybe silence was not empty space, maybe it was grace waiting patiently for me to finally stop and breathe. And I heard my soul beneath the noise, past every wound, past every choice, like a candle trembling in the dark, still protecting its small spark. And suddenly the world slowed down, the heavy air no longer drowned, the fragile hope inside my chest that whispered I still deserved sounded like hope coming home again. Beneath the noise, I was still there. There's a fire burning low tonight, shadows dancing across the floor, and every flicker in the amber light feels like opening an old door. I remember how your laughter sounded, floating softly through the dark, like a song I tried to memorize before it fell apart. I remember standing in the kitchen, barefoot under midnight gold, thinking love would last forever because we were too young to know. Now every memory glows the same, warm enough to hurt again. So I walk backwards through the firelight, tracing smoke through sleepless nights, not to stay inside the pain, but to understand what still remains. Backwards through the firelight, through every ember of goodbye, through all the moments we held close before they turned to ghosts, and every scar begins to shine like constellations through the night, softly burning in my chest, teaching me what I survive best. Oh, backwards through the firelight. There were words we never finished, heavy silence in between, little fractures in the beauty, too invisible to see. I carried guilt inside my pockets like stones too deep to throw away, wondering if love collapsed because I wasn't enough to make it stay. But time has gentled some of the blame, even aching hearts can change. And maybe memory isn't cruel, maybe it's trying to lead me through every shadow I once feared, toward the woman standing here. Backwards through the firelight, where old wounds flicker into light, where every tear I thought would drown me quietly became surrounding warmth inside me. And though some nights still smell like smoke and broken promises once spoke, I no longer run away from the ruins of yesterday. Oh, backwards through the firelight. Maybe healing means remembering without collapsing underneath it. Maybe scars become less heavy when we finally stop hiding them. And maybe every burning ache was carving wisdom into pain, turning ashes into something that could still carry a flame. Now I walk backwards through the firelight, not searching for what died, but gathering every fragile part that once lived inside my heart. And every memory that remains no longer only tastes like pain, 'cause even firelight, and somewhere in the fading glow, I found myself again. The fire still burns softly, but it no longer burns me. The rain is finally quieted after all these sleepless nights. Broken branches line the road beneath a silver morning light. And standing in the aftermath with trembling hands against my chest, I realize I'm still here, breathing through what should have left me wrecked. There were days the sky collapsed inside the corners of my mind. Every fear became a flood, pulling hope too far behind. I lost versions of myself, trying only to survive, held together by thin threads, too exhausted even to cry. But somewhere underneath the ache, a softer strength remained awake. Not loud enough to stop the storm, not untouched or newly reborn, just steady as a candle flame, still glowing through the rain. And what remained after the storm was a heart still beating warm, not unbroken, not unchanged, but full of grace because it stayed. And every scar the lightning made became proof I did not fade. Even through the darkest ways, something inside me still was brave. Oh, what remained after the storm? The mirror shows a different face, one softened by surviving pain. There's tenderness behind my eyes that wasn't there before the rain. I no longer fear the dark like I once did in younger years, because I've walked through endless nights and learned how hope can live through tears. And every wound I used to hide now feels like truth I survived. Maybe grace is not perfection, maybe it's quiet resurrection, a soul learning how to stand with shattered pieces in its hands. And what remained after the storm was not weakness anymore, it was courage dressed in scars, still reaching gently toward the stars. And every silence, every fall did not destroy me after all, they only carved more room inside for compassion to survive. Oh, what remained after the I used to think survival meant becoming harder through the hurt, but maybe strength is staying soft even after the worst. Maybe healing looks like this, standing quietly in the light, still carrying the memory, but no longer losing the fight. And now I grace, still breathing inside me. The rain is finally distant now, and I am still here. I spent years standing at the window, waiting for someone to arrive, believing love lived somewhere distant, somewhere outside this life. I searched through strangers' eyes for rescue, through empty rooms and midnight calls, never noticing the quiet heartbeat echoing beneath it all. I gave my softness away too easily, thinking sacrifice meant love. Bent my spirit into smaller shapes just to feel worthy enough. Every goodbye felt like proof that I was hard to truly hold, so I kept searching for a home inside somebody else's soul. But every road I tried to take curved back into my own name, like the dawn arriving slow after endless winter snow. A voice inside me finally said, "You were never abandoned." I was waiting inside myself all along beneath the hurt, like a light behind closed curtains, still glowing through the darkened world. And every love I begged to find was quietly alive inside, patient through the lonely nights, keeping my fragile heart alive. Oh, I was waiting inside myself. Now the mirror feels less distant, the silence softer than before. I don't fear being alone the way I always did before, because loneliness is changing shape into something warm and kind, like learning how to hold my own hand when the world becomes too loud outside, and every scar I used to blame now feels like wisdom wearing my name. Maybe healing isn't finding someone else to finally save me. Maybe healing is returning to the soul that stayed beneath me. I was waiting inside myself, inside every tear I felt, inside every trembling prayer, inside the breath still living there. And all the warmth I tried to chase was resting softly in this place, not far away, not lost in time, but quietly surviving inside mine. Oh, I was waiting inside myself. All this time I called myself broken, while my heart was still wide open, still carrying light through the pain, still whispering my name. And maybe love begins like this, not with fireworks or sudden bliss, but with finally turning around and hearing your own soul make a sound, saying, "You are enough." Now I know the arms I needed were the ones I kept defeating. The voice that stayed when others left was always breathing in my chest. And though the world still changes fast, I finally have something that lasts, a quiet love that inside myself. And now I'm finally home. Was already here. The apartment used to echo every fear inside my chest. Even silence sounded fragile, like disaster hadn't finished yet. I memorized the sound of breaking, the language of waiting for pain. But something quiet changed inside me when I finally stopped running away. I used to wake before the sunrise, heart racing without a name. Every memory felt sharpened, every kindness hard to trust again. I kept my soul behind locked windows, afraid the wind would pull me apart. Built invisible walls around me just to protect a frightened heart. But exhaustion softened all my fear and left enough room for peace to appear. Not loudly, not all at once, more like winter slowly giving up, more like breathing without ways. For the very first time in years, when the walls forgot to tremble, I could finally hear myself. Not the panic, not the sorrow, just a quiet kind of health. And every room began to glow with warmth I never used to know. Like my spirit learned at last, the danger wasn't built to last. Oh, when the walls forgot to tremble. Now the evenings feel much softer. I light candles just because. Drink my coffee by the window without fear becoming too much. There are still scars beneath the surface, still nights when sadness brushes near. But it no longer owns the silence or convinces me to disappear. And every breath feels less confined, like peace has finally entered my mind. Maybe safety is not perfect, maybe healing still has shadows, but even wounded hearts can rest when they stop expecting war. When the walls forgot to tremble, I stopped bracing for goodbye, stopped searching every quiet moment for another hidden knife. And slowly all the shattered air turned gentle in the spaces there, like grace had quietly moved in and taught my soul to live again. Oh, when the walls forgot to tremble, I thought survival meant staying guarded, keeping every feeling small. But peace arrived the moment I no longer feared the fall. Not because the pain disappeared, but because I survived the dark. And every room inside my soul feels warmer than it did before. Like all the storms have finally passed, enough for hope to rest at last. Oh, when the walls forgot to tremble, I remembered what peace feels like. Tonight the silence feels gentle, and so do I. I spent so many years sleeping lightly through the dark, keeping one eye open even inside someone's arms. I learned how to survive love without ever feeling safe. Like tenderness could vanish the moment I exhaled my weight. I carried storms beneath my skin, quiet panic trembling within. Every silence felt uncertain, every goodbye already written. I became careful with my softness, measured every fragile word, afraid if I showed too much of me, I'd lose the little love I'd earned. But somewhere after all the fear, a gentler feeling appeared. Not rushing, not demanding, just steady as candlelight. Like warmth arriving softly after endless winter nights. And I found a place my heart could finally rest, without bracing inside my chest, without fearing every breath would become another emptiness. And slowly all the guarded parts laid down their armor in the dark, like my soul had finally met a place where it was safe to exist. Oh, a place my heart could finally rest. Now the nights feel less lonely, even when I'm by myself, because peace no longer depends on somebody else staying. I can sit beside the silence and not mistake it for loss. I can hold my own reflection without counting every flaw, and every scar inside my skin feels softer than it once had been. Maybe safety isn't perfect, maybe healing still feels tender, but there's a warmth beneath my ribs that no longer disappears. And I found a place my heart could finally rest, where trembling slowly turns to breathe, where all the fear I carried years could finally loosen in the air. And every shattered piece of me was welcomed gently, patiently, no longer fighting to be loved, no longer feeling not enough. Oh, a place my heart could finally rest. I used to think love meant surviving, holding on through every wound, but maybe love begins the moment your soul no longer fears the room. destination, not another person's hands. Maybe peace is finally learning you deserve gentleness, just as you are. Now my heart no longer races through imaginary endings. There's warmth living in the spaces where fear once made its home. And though life still carries sorrow, I no longer face it alone, because somewhere deep within my chest I built a place where love can rest. Oh, a place my heart could finally rest. And for the first time, it stayed. The night feels softer now, and so does my heart. The sunlight tucks the kitchen floor in ways I hadn't noticed before. Dust was dancing in the gold like tiny stories being told. And for a moment, without trying, I forgot the weight of surviving. Healing didn't arrive like thunder, didn't split the sky apart. It came quietly through mornings that felt softer on my heart. Through washing cups beside the window, through hearing birds before the rain, through breathing deeper than I used to without expecting hidden pain. Little moments passing by, slowly teaching me I'm alive. Not every miracle is loud. Sometimes grace is small somehow, like warmth returning to your hands after years of winter air. And the light returned in quiet ways, through ordinary fragile days, through half smiles and peaceful sleep, and learning not every silence cuts deep. It came through laughter I didn't force, through opening long locked doors, through realizing I could stay without needing to run away. Oh, the light returned in quiet ways. Started singing while cleaning, started leaving curtains wide, started letting evening colors rest softly inside my mind. There are still shadows in the corners, still memories that ache sometimes, but they no longer own the room or swallow all the light inside. Now sadness feels less like an end and more like weather passing through again. Maybe healing isn't becoming new, maybe it's returning to the gentle parts we buried deep, just to make it through grief. And the light returned in quiet ways, not perfect, but enough to stay, enough to warm the empty space, enough to soften old heartbreaks. It came through breathing without fear, through finally wanting to be here, through understanding peace can grow in hearts that once felt far too cold. Oh, the light returned in quiet ways. simply waking up and not immediately feeling lost. Maybe grace is choosing softness after knowing what survival costs. And now I see the light returned in quiet ways and slowly filled my darkest places, not erasing where I've been, but teaching me to live again. And every ordinary breath now feels sacred in my chest, because after all the years of pain, I can finally feel warmth remain. Oh, the light returned in quiet ways, and somehow, so did I. Morning keeps arriving gently, and now I let it in. For so long I spoke in borrowed language, careful words wrapped in fear, trying not to become too much for anyone to hear. I folded my opinion smaller, turned my brightness down to dim, until I almost disappeared inside the silence I lived in. I memorized the art of pleasing, how to soften every edge, how to smile while slowly drowning, how to live with unmet needs. I confused being loved with becoming less of me. Thought acceptance had a price, paid in quiet suffering. But somewhere underneath the ache, a stronger sound began to wake, like thunder hidden inside rain, like sunlight breaking through the gray. A truth I could no longer hide started rising from inside, and I learned the shape of my own voice, not through comfort, but through choice. Through every time I almost broke, yet still found courage enough to speak. And now the sound inside my chest no longer apologizes for existing. It rises warm and clear and strong, like it knew where it belonged all along. I learned the shape of my own voice. Now I speak without rehearsing, without fear inside my lungs. I no longer need permission to become the woman I've become. And every dream I once abandoned returns brighter than before, like birds finally finding open sky after years behind locked doors. There's freedom in the way I breathe now that I belong to me. Maybe strength is not becoming hard, maybe it's protecting your own heart. Maybe healing sounds like this: your soul no longer Softness made me weak, but softness carried me through everything. Through heartbreak, through fear, through loneliness and years. And now I know my voice was never lost, only buried underneath the cost of trying to be loved by disappearing no more. Now I sing with all the air inside my lungs, with every version I become, with every scar and every flame that taught me not to hide my name. And though my voice still sometimes shakes, it may longer bends or breaks, because the girl I searched for most was waiting in the sound of my own soul. I learned the shape of my own voice, and it sounds like freedom at last. I can finally hear myself clearly, and I am not afraid anymore. I spent years reaching outward with trembling hands and tied hope, waiting for somebody stronger to pull me from the undertow. I believed salvation lived inside another person's arms, like love alone could heal the ache or quiet all my inner storms. Too hard on fragile promises, built my worth on being chosen, held my breath through every goodbye, afraid abandonment was woven into the fabric of my soul, into every dream I touched. So I carried my heart carefully, like it was always too much. But every road that broke beneath my feet still somehow led me back to me. And in the silence after loss, after every painful cost, a truth rose slowly through the pain, like thunder rolling through the rain. No one could carry me but me, through all the nights I could not breathe, through every fear, through every scar, through every shattered piece of heart. And though I begged the world for rescue, the strength I needed pulled me through, not perfectly, but faithfully. No one could carry me but me. Oh, no one could carry me but me. Now I stand inside my own light without apologizing first. I know survival changed my shape, but it did not make me cursed. Every tear became a lesson, every lonely road a flame, burning away the version of me who thought dependence meant being saved. And now the mirror feels more clear, because I finally stayed here. Maybe healing isn't finding hands strong enough to understand. Maybe healing is becoming the safe place you were so hidden underneath my skin. So I rise again. Now I carry all my fragile parts with gentleness instead of dark, with open hands, with softened grace, with love finally filling this place. And every version left behind still belongs inside this life, because the soul that brought me through was always mine to listen to. No one could carry me but me. And somehow that became freedom. I was never abandoned. I was becoming strong enough to hold myself. There was a time I feared the dark inside me, like every shadow carried proof that something in my soul was ruined. So I hid my sadness carefully behind polite and quiet smiles, pretending only bright things could ever be worthwhile. I spent years running from sorrow, trying to outrun the night, but pain kept following softly, like moonlight trailing every light. I called my loneliness a weakness, called my tears something to erase, never seeing all the depth hidden underneath the ache. And every scar I tried to hide still stayed breathing deep inside. But slowly darkness changed its shape when I stopped treating it like shame and listened long enough to hear the beauty buried in my fear. Even my shadow started singing softly through the brokenness in me, like forgotten choirs in the dark, waking up inside my heart. And every wound became a doorway, every sorrow learned a new name. Not destruction, not the end, but depth I could finally stand within. Oh, even my shadow started singing. Now the midnight feels less cruel, the silence no longer cuts through. There's poetry inside the ache, warmth inside what used to break. I can sit beside my memories without collapsing from their weight, because grief became a language, teaching me how hearts create. And every tear I once denied now glimmers softly in the light. Maybe darkness was never empty, maybe it was where my soul could breathe deeply. Maybe all the pain I feared was becoming something sincere. Even my shadow started singing, turning lonely echoes into meaning. Every trembling hidden part now belongs inside my heart. And all the nights I thought would end me quietly became what shaped me gently into someone strong enough to stay inside herself without running away. Oh, even my shadow started singing. think healing meant becoming light without darkness standing by my side. But now I know the stars only shine because the night allows them light. And maybe beauty is not flawless skin or pretending pain has never been. Maybe beauty is surviving honestly and still remaining soft within. Now even my shadows sing beside me, no longer trying to hide me. They dance gently in the glow, like old companions finally known. And every broken piece I feared is transformed into something real, a deeper kind of tenderness, living quietly inside my chest. Oh, even my shadows started singing, and somehow it sounded beautiful. The dark no longer feels like drowning. Now it sounds like music. The city outside my window looked colder than it ever had before. Streetlights trembling in the rain, like tired ghosts across the floor. And somewhere between midnight and silence, I sat alone beside my fear, too exhausted to keep pretending I was stronger than the hurt in here. I remember staring at the ceiling, counting every crack above my bed, wondering if anyone would notice if I vanished with the dark instead. Every memory felt heavier, every breath a borrowed thing, like my soul had spent too many years trying to survive without healing. And the loneliness inside my chest sounded louder than my heartbeat then. But somewhere underneath the sorrow, beneath the ache I could not name, a fragile voice still whispered softly, please stay. So that was the night I chose to stay alive, the night I let my shattered heart decide that even through the endless dark there was still a trembling spark. And though the pain did not disappear and the morning still arrived through tears, I held on to the smallest light, enough to survive the night. Oh, the night I chose to stay alive. I opened up the window slowly, let cold air rush against my skin. And for the first time in so long, I didn't fight the world I lived in. I thought about the girl I used to be, before fear swallowed all her dreams, before she learned to hide her sadness inside carefully quiet things. And suddenly I couldn't leave her there, alone beneath the weight of despair. chose to stay alive. I used to think surviving meant never falling to your knees, but survival is sometimes whispering, I will stay when you cannot breathe. And maybe courage is not loud, maybe it trembles when it speaks. Maybe strength is simply choosing tomorrow quietly. And I chose tomorrow. Every sunrise feels different because I know what it costs to see it. I carry tenderness for the girl who almost disappeared from this world. And every breath inside my lungs feels sacred after what I've overcome. Because somewhere in the deepest night I became my own reason to survive. The night I chose to stay alive was the night my soul returned to me. And somewhere beyond the darkness, morning was waiting for me. I used to think love meant surrender, giving every part away, until there was almost nothing left of the girl beneath my name. I thought devotion meant dissolving into somebody else's light, believing if they stayed beside me, everything inside would be alright. So I carried hearts that weren't my burden, held together crumbling skies, ignored the aching in my spirit just to keep love alive. I abandoned my own boundaries, called exhaustion loyalty, smiled through quiet devastation, mistaking pain for destiny. But no matter how deeply I gave, something inside me still stayed afraid. Because no embrace could silence the emptiness I carried within. No amount of love could heal me if I kept abandoning myself again. And I learned love could not replace my soul, could not make me finally whole, could not heal the parts of me I refused to hold tenderly. And no matter how warm the arms or how bright another heart, I still needed to return to the woman living underneath the hurt. Oh, love could not replace my soul. Now I speak more softly to myself than I ever let the word. I no longer trade my peace away just to feel temporarily loved. There's strength inside my boundaries now, a quiet grace and say no, because self-respect became the bridge that finally carried me home. And every scar I once concealed now reminds me how deeply I feel. Maybe love was never meant to rescue me from emptiness. without disappearing in it. And now I do. Now love feels softer in my hands, not a cage or last demand, not a place to lose my name or carry endless shame, because I finally learned to stay even when others walked away, and every part of me can breathe without begging to be seen. Oh, love could not replace my soul, but loving myself began to heal it. I no longer disappear for love, and that is freedom. The house is quiet now, not empty, just still, like the world finally learned how to breathe beside me gently. The nights no longer frighten me, the silence no longer aches, and somewhere between all the healing I began to change. I stopped searching every horizon for something to complete my soul, stopped believing broken hearts could only survive half whole. I let the sunlight reach the corners I once kept hidden from the day, open windows in my spirit and watch the darkness drift away. Not suddenly, not all at once, but softly enough to trust. Like snow melting into rivers, like winter loosening its hands, like a wounded heart discovering it no longer has to defend. And slowly I became whole again, piece by piece beneath my skin. Every scar and every tear found a softer meaning here. And all the love I tried to chase was waiting quietly in this place, inside the warmth I finally let remain. Oh, slowly I became whole again. Now the mirror feels familiar, like an old friend returned at last. I can hold my own reflection without grieving who has passed. There are memories I still carry, but they no longer pull me down. They rest gently in the background, like rain after leaving town. And every version I have been still belongs somewhere within. Maybe healing is not forgetting, maybe peace is simply letting every chapter coexist without shame attached to it. grace is not perfection. Maybe grace is simply this: learning how to hold your heart without fear of what it is. And now I do. Now slowly I am whole again, with every breath and trembling step, with every scar that shaped my soul, with every part I learned to hold. And though life still moves like weather, I no longer fear forever, because peace has finally found a home inside the woman I've become. Slowly I became whole again, and this time I stayed with myself. The world feels softer now, because I finally do too. I used to search the whole world for something that already lives in me, like a wandering soul, trying to outrun her own heartbeat. Through every storm, through every goodbye, through every lonely midnight sky, I kept moving farther away from the girl I was trying to save. There were years I barely recognized the reflection in my eyes, years I called survival living while quietly fading inside. I carried grief like heavy oceans, carried fear beneath my skin, built fragile homes inside people who could never let me fully in. But every road that made me break still led me back to this place. Not unchanged, not untouched, but softer somehow because of it all. Like the heart I almost lost was waiting patiently through every fall. And now I'm back to my own heart, back to the light inside the dark, back to the warmth I could not see, still surviving quietly in me. And every scar became a star, guiding me through who we are, no longer searching endlessly for someone else to rescue me. I back to my own heart. Now the silence feels like shelter, not punishment anymore. And every breath inside my chest feels steadier than before. I can sit beside my memories without drowning in their weight, because pain no longer owns me, it only helped me reshape. And every version left behind still belongs inside this life. Maybe healing was never becoming new, maybe it was returning true to the soul that stayed alive even through the hardest night. never leave myself behind again. The journey ends where love began, inside my own